So here it tells a story about the genetic homogeneity. This was a tough question, especially because they're using this dash. Now the dash is a pain in the neck, right? Pain in the neck. Why? Because it's got a lot of functions, a lot of roles. Usually it is something like a chameleon, because it could replace several of the other punctuation markers. So just to make it short, they tell you that somebody believes that the genetic homogeneity is a result of this population bottleneck. And then they're trying to explain something here with this dash. This dash is trying to emulate a column. And they tell you at some time something happened. Greatly reducing their numbers. They're talking about some Neanderthals, I think. Right? Some ancestors we had. And their numbers, and those are genetic variation. We have also an and at the end, so we have to check for parallelism. So letter A seems kind of fine. Let's just leave it there for the time being. Letter B, that at some time in the past something happened. Now we know here, we notice that in letter B and letter C they are adding that. And that's better. Why? Because when you have a column, actually a dash here, that is, we're basically rephrasing here. We're just trying to rephrase. We're trying to explain what we mentioned before, right? So this dash, whatever comes after the dash, is trying to explain something that was mentioned before. What was mentioned before? That somebody believes that blah 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 blah. In other words, this dash should be replaced with in other words. In other words, that blah blah blah. They're trying to rephrase or explain this whole clause. So the anthropologists believe this. In other words, this. So as they are starting to rephrase or explain this subordinated clause with that, it makes more sense. They also place a that at the beginning of the explanation. So letter B and letter C are better than A. So A is out. Now, what's the problem with letter C? Letter C says, so that their numbers were reduced, and thus our genetic variation. Now, thus our genetic variation is a noun. Numbers were reduced. That's not a noun anymore. It's a noun plus a verb, conjugated verb. So it's a subject and a verb. That's a clause. It's a full sentence. So a noun is not parallel to a clause. So letter C is out. In letter B we have, for example, variation and their numbers. So that's okay because their numbers is a noun. Now letter D and letter E, they don't start with that, so that's wrong. And also their numbers were reduced. The letter D has the same mistake as letter C, right, because of parallelism. And just because of that, letter B is our answer.